Hello everyone. We have discussed the intro and objective of IBC in the previous video. If you're watching this video for the first time, please make sure that you have watched the previous video. I have given the link of previous video in the description. Now, we will look at the institutional framework of IBC 2016. We have already seen that there are multiple laws and adjudicating forums dealing with the financial failure and insolvency of companies and individuals in India. But the current legal framework does not provide lenders an effective and timely recovery or restructuring of defaulted assets. Consequently, it affected the Indian credit system. So, the IBC 2016 offers a uniform comprehensive insolvency legislation relating to reorganization and insolvency resolution of body corporates, partnership firms, and individuals in a time-bound manner. Now, let's discuss about the institutional framework of IBC 2016. Any law need an institutional framework for its effective implementation, right? So, there are four pillars of supporting institutional infrastructure to make the insolvency and bankruptcy process efficiently. When coming into this framework, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, in short IBBI, which was established on 1st October 2016. It has been set up as a regulator to oversee the functioning of entities like insolvency professional agencies, insolvency professionals, and information utilities. This board is also entrusted with the task of overseeing the insolvency proceedings in the country. The role of IBBI is similar to the role that RBI plays in the banking sector and SEBI in the securities market. The board has 10 members and is headed by a chairman, and there are representatives from RBI and the Ministries of Finance, the Corporate Affairs and Law. So these are the major functions performed by IBBI. The first one is regulate the functioning of other three pillars, that is insolvency professional agencies, that is IPAs, and insolvency professionals, that is IPs, and information utilities. Second point, making regulations and guidelines on matters relating to insolvency and bankruptcy as prescribed under the code. Thirdly, collecting and maintaining records relating to insolvency and bankruptcy code. Fourthly, specifying mechanism for grievance redressal against insolvency professional agencies, insolvency professionals, and information utilities. And lastly, promote transparency and best practices in its governance. The next level of hierarchy in this institutional framework is the insolvency professional agencies, that is IPAs. IPAs are entities that have been incorporated as a not-for-profit companies to enroll, educate, monitor, regulate, and guide the insolvency professionals. In short, we can say that IPA conduct examinations, certify insolvency professionals, and enforce the code of conduct for their functioning. Currently, there are three IPAs registered with IBBI, namely the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, and the Institute of Cost and Work Accountants of India. So these are the major functions performed by Insolvency Professional Agency. That is, first one, enrollment of insolvency professionals and suspension of membership of IPs. IP means insolvency professional. Second one, laying down standards of professional conduct for insolvency professionals. Thirdly, educating and training its members. Fourthly, monitoring of insolvency professional. And fifth, safeguard the rights, privileges, and interests of its members. And lastly, redressal of grievances of consumers against its members. The third level of hierarchy in this institutional framework is insolvency professionals. The heart of the entire insolvency process lies in the functioning of insolvency professionals, who are specialized cadre of certified professionals. Following are the major functions performed by IPs, that is insolvency professionals. First one, to conduct the insolvency resolution process. Second, take over the management of the company. Third, controls the assets of the company. And fourth, assist creditors in the collection of relevant information. And lastly, if the company fails to revive, they will become the liquidators. That is, the IPs, that is, insolvency professionals, will act as liquidators and manage the liquidation process. Next comes information utilities. A key innovation of IBC framework is a new industry of information utilities. Information utilities stores facts about lenders and terms of lending in electronic databases. Secondly, it collect, collate and disseminate the financial information related to debtors. The concept of information utilities will be the same as CIBIL scores in the context of individuals. Like CIBIL scores talk about the credit history of an individual, information utility will do the same in the context of the corporate debtors. And the National E-Governance is the first and the only information utility to be registered till now. And lastly, but most important to note, that the court has two adjudicating authorities. The function of these authorities is to evaluate applications for initiating insolvency proceedings, approve appointment of insolvency professionals, and approve resolution plans. There is National Company Law Tribunal to adjudicate cases for companies and limited liability partnerships, and appeals against its orders is heard by the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal. And there is Debt Recovery Tribunal for adjudicating cases for individuals and partnership firms, and the appeals against its orders will be heard by the Debt Recovery Appellate Tribunal. So I am concluding. We have seen the institutional framework of IBC 2016. At the topmost position there is IBBI, that is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, to oversee the functions of other pillars, that is insolvency professional agencies, insolvency professionals and information utilities. And we have also discussed the adjudicating authorities. And that's all for this video, and thank you for watching the video.